Not having anything going right for her, 29-year-old Ya-young retires from dating after a bad breakup, but her loneliness pushes her to join a dating app. Waking up in the morning, Ya-young is embraced by her man as he's pleasuring her. However, her enjoyment is cut off as the real alarm goes off. Sighing, she gets up to go to the bathroom, but it seems like she can't catch a break as she sees her neighbors having as well. Returning to bed, she wonders whether it's normal for her to have wet dreams and whether it's normal to have the same dream every time. Worry, a creative writer, can be seen in a meeting as they discuss their interest in their paper. His boss is asking everyone about their interest in the magazine and why people read it. As Worry draws in his notebook, the other workers are suggesting some ideas. However, the editor-in-chief reveals that it is the boredom that makes people indulge in their magazine, their dullness, and the drive for excitement. The chief is seeking someone to bring back the column their previous worker Choi Macho held, so she asks Worry to take over. Confused, he tries to come up with an excuse, but she beats him to it as she reminds him that he has a degree in creative writing, meaning that he can write about anything. Ya-young starts her morning by getting on the bus with a positive attitude. However, seeing a couple being affectionate with each other reminds her of her nasty breakup. It cuts to a flashback and we can see her ex breaking up with her. Pushing her off him, he claims that he's sick of her as he calls her an alcoholic. Delusional jealousy. Ya-young doesn't let his insult slide. Devilishly, she advises him to get a checkup since he might have gotten a disease from her. Her daydreaming is interrupted as the bus breaks, making her fall onto the couple next to her. Getting off the bus, she rushes to her father's store where good news awaits. He hands her a letter that says that her request has been granted to start a podcast. Not only is Worry struggling with the column, but he is struggling with his love life as well. Entering the lounge area, he sees his colleague with whom he's been having an affair. His intentions are pure. He wants to ask her to a concert, but she reveals that she's getting engaged, as she's gotten back with her boyfriend. As bad as things are going for Worry, Ya-young can't relate to that. We see her celebrating her success with her best friends. However, the question about her boyfriend is brought up, and she reacts like she doesn't know him. Worry can be seen with his friend out as well. He lets his friend know about the situation with his coworker, so, to make him feel better, his friend makes him a dating account. Curious, Ya-young's friend Gong asks her whether she wants a relationship or she just wants to have intercourse with someone. Ya-young goes on a rant about how she doesn't want to drain herself by indulging in love, how she doesn't think that she'll be happy and free if she were to be with someone. Worry and Ya-young have an account on the same app, and as Worry's friend is setting it up for him, Ya-young gets a notification about a match, sparking a conversation with her friends. Gong supports her decision to find someone, but Yumai is afraid that she'll find herself in a dangerous situation. Similar to Yumai, Worry is skeptical of the whole deal, but his friend changes his mind by proposing a genius idea. All he wants is for Worry to have fun, so he suggests he goes out with the girl and starts writing the column about her, anonymously of course. As the girls are discussing whether online dating is safe or not, Yumai gets a notification on her phone, and it is about Ya-young's ex Namgung Sang-woo getting married. Ya-young's face drops as she feels heartbroken about the situation. However, her friends encourage her to move on fast and with someone that they know she likes, like the guy from the gym. Feeling motivated, Ya-young asks her friends to place a bet on her whether she'll bring a guy for them to meet the following week, and so, the hunt begins. She gathers the courage to ask the hunk from the gym for a beer, but it turns out that he is a mama's boy, so she goes to the Hua Book Club next. Her strategy is to go for the first guy that she makes direct eye contact with, but all she sees as she opens the door are women. Not giving up, she tries climbing next. As she's climbing, she accidentally falls on the ground and a man helps her get up. She goes out with the guy, thinking that everything's fine, but as his wallet falls out of his pocket, she sees a picture of him, his wife, and 2 kids in it. Following her friend's advice, she even tries asking someone random to go out with her, like the boy on the bus, but it's all worthless as he starts talking about his ancestors. Having a stressful time finding love, Ya-young goes to her friend's food place to complain to him. After many drinks, she goes on a rant about how intimacy is the answer to all problems. Seeing her friend drunk, Bu-ram hands her a syrup that will sober her up, but she takes it as a way of flirting with her, so she flirts back, but in a more aggressive manner. Waking up in the morning, she opens the phone only to find out that she doesn't have to come to work because it's New Year's Eve. Returning to bed, she can't help but think about her actions the previous night, her forcing herself onto Bu-ram and touching him inappropriately. To make her thoughts go away, she falls asleep once again and wakes up in the evening. Receiving a text from the dating app, she decides to uninstall the app, but changes her mind once she realizes that she'll have to give Bong $100. Opening the app, she swipes on a couple of guys until she matches with one. However, it all goes downhill as he sends her in. Later in the afternoon, we can see that Ya-young's gotten a match as she meets with Worry at the bus station. He notices that she had come back from a blood van, meaning that she had donated blood, and she reveals that she had done that because she came early. They decide to take a walk, and as they're walking, Ya-young asks him bizarre questions, like if he's in a cult and whether he has a wife. She discards them as simple questions as she claims that there's no harm. She asks about his mom as well but lies that her father is a homicide detective. They finally introduce themselves properly before going to a restaurant. As Ya-young's enjoying her buckwheat noodles, she notices that he is barely eating anything. He claims that the broth tastes like someone's washed a tea towel in it, so she pulls the plate from the table next to them because food shouldn't be wasted. She pours them some shots and decides to get serious. Admitting that it's her first time using the app and that she's thought a lot about whether to come or not, she asks him to tell her more about himself so she doesn't back out. He understands her as he knows that it's a bigger risk for women, so he asks her why she chose him, assuming that she gets a lot of likes. Comparing him to the others, she claims that the other guys' show-off pictures only make them look pathetic. However, she puts down her nice girl facade as she reveals that she chose him because he looked least likely to have an STD. Further, she asks him whether he's looking for a girlfriend and he says that he's not, but finds it hard to explain what he's looking for, careful not to expose himself that he's doing it for the column. He finally manages to say that he's not looking for anything serious, and Ya-young reveals that she is not looking to settle down either, because she thinks that she's unfit for a relationship. He asks her what she does and she tells him about the bakery, but when she asks him the same thing, he lies about working in a publishing company for children's books. Things take a great turn as we see Ya-young getting ready in her room to go to a hotel with Wori. Her friends try to stop her from having with the man she just met, but she doesn't listen to them as we see her meet up with Wori. He gets a message from his chief reminding him that he has to send a 3,000-word column by the next day, so he takes the chance and sleeps with Ya-young. They leave the hotel room in the evening, and before they part ways, Wori asks Ya-young whether she gets many likes. Curious, she asks whether he wants to know about her getting with someone else, but he just says that he's happy that she chose him. She proceeds to leave again, but he stops her and lets her know that he will be contacting her. On his way back, Wori comes up with an idea. It's a gray area, holiday, and a one-nighter, too. Gong and Ya-young go to the hospital the following day to visit Ya-young's grandmother. As they're talking about Wori, Gong can't help but notice Ya-young checking her phone all the time, so she assumes she's waiting for a call from him. Denying the accusations, Ya-young asks her to drop it before her grandmother overhears something. The grandma walks in, already asking what they're talking about. Concerned, the grandma advises Gong to start working something else because being a divorce lawyer is a bad thing. She even hopes that Gong can help Ya-young find an eligible guy for her, so Gong outs Ya-young about having someone in her life. Changing the topic, Ya-young lets her grandma know that she will be starting the podcast, and asks her to gather all of her friends for it. Ya-young wants her grandma to be a part of it as grandmas, in general, are always taking care of others and have no time for themselves. That is why Ya-young wants her to talk about being the protagonist of her life. The grandma starts to laugh as she claims that nobody is the protagonist of their lives, even calling Ya-young the supporting side character of her own life. The next following days are dreadful for Ya-young as she can't stop thinking about her night with Wori. The same goes for him as well. But right as he's about to text her, his colleague calls him. He ends up spending the night with her, so naturally, he tries to talk to her at the office, but as always, she thanks him for the night and pretends as if nothing's happened. The chief calls him into her office only to reveal that his column is a total hit. She praises him on his ability to write something so passionate that grasps the viewers immediately. Curious, she asks him about the inspiration behind it and he reveals that it was based on his experience, impressing her even more. Demanding a 5-part series, the chief assures him that his secret will be kept with her, so he has no choice but to proceed with it. Leaving the bakery, Ya-young calls her friend who invites her to come to where she is because her partner had brought his supposedly hot friends with him. Ya-young tells her that she will come, but we see her sit down with Wori. He pours them shots and asks whether she's grateful for him. As they continue drinking, Wori opens up about his colleague and Ya-young lets him know that she's using him. She assures him that his colleague has no feelings for him and that she's using him for her satisfaction. He wonders why some women are cruel like that, but Ya-young assures him that they're all the same. Spicing things up, she asks him why he has no guts to confront the boyfriend of his colleague and he gets all defensive about it. Be honest, would you be attracted to yourself if you were a girl? Is what she asks him, giving him a variety of answers. Very much so, moderately so, somewhat, and not at all, are the answers he gets to choose from. Thinking for a while, he admits that he would be somewhat attracted to himself if he were a girl. Trekking him into her game, she lets him know that for men it usually goes down to spots, so he is a not at all for her. Furthermore, he asks her whether he's bad in bed, so she reveals that it was alright for her. Pleased with her answer, he asks her to admit that his part is big because she screamed for it. But she lets him know that women usually moan to make themselves excited. Impressed by her transparency and honesty, he tells her that her parents had raised her well. However, she reveals that her mother died at her birth when she was 30, so turning 30 the following year is scary for her. They continue to get to know each other as the night falls, and she finds out about his favorite poses and places, one of which is a Ferris wheel. For Ya-young, it would have to be a radio station as she's done it while working there. She finally asks him what she's like in bed, and after laughing for a while, he calls her erotic. He asks her about the radio story, and she admits to it being her first love. Unfortunately for her, after a while, things had gotten worse, but they continued to have for the following 3 years. Wori is shocked to hear that she didn't see anyone for 3 years while her ex was seeing other people. Once he fell in love, he dumped Ya-young, and she reveals that he is getting married soon. Because of their situation, Ya-young had to quit due to the rumors spreading about them. Having so much anger built up in her, Ya-young asks Wori whether it would be alright for her to just show up at his wedding, and instead of judging her, Wori promises to go crash the wedding with her. They talk, drink, and laugh as it gets late. Being intoxicated, Wori falls asleep on the table. Ya-young tries to wake him up, but he doesn't budge, so she takes the chance to thank him for listening to her. Things she talked about with him, she finds it hard to talk with her best friend about, so she wonders, where did he come from, who sent him to me? The morning, Wori wakes up with Ya-young asleep on him. He tries to wake her up, but she doesn't budge. Once her alarm starts ringing, he pretends to be asleep, so she wakes him up. As they're getting dressed, Ya-young lets him know that he owes her half of the money for the motel room, and he agrees to pay. He gets pissed off once she asks him whether he's sorry about spending money on a hotel room without having it, so he goes out on her. They start arguing as they exit the room, but just a couple of hours later we see them back together. As they spend more time together, we can see them connecting spiritually as well as physically.
Living in the light, you're giving out. Satellite in your space. Whenever you cross my mind, we're forgetting how to slow down. And I never wanna be without you, baby, without you, baby. Oh, no, it doesn't have to be complex. Lay with my head on your chest. Driving slow, so back roads in my mind. So tell me how you feel, 'cause there ain't nothing.
Wori has had a huge success writing a column on her as he briefly describes all of the things they do and what goes on in her mind. For him, she is like an awakening because she has awakened potentials in him that he wasn't even aware of. We see the readers excitedly reading the column and impatiently waiting for the next parts. In the column, Wori admits to Ya-young being special as she kept him excited even when they weren't together. Everything had been great until it finally slipped out of his mouth. Wori had told Ya-young that he loves her. As he sits in his office, rethinking his actions, his chief pats him on the shoulder to let him know that the column has passed 500,000 views. Excited about the success, the chief tells everyone to leave their desks, as she's going to take them to lunch. As they're enjoying the delicious food, Wori's coworkers can't help but critique and compliment his work. Thriving for success, the chief asks Wori to make it a 10-part column, and right as he's about to say no, she lets him know that it's a demand. Not only does she make him do it, but she also promises everyone a bonus, which puts him in an even harder situation. Wori goes out for a smoke to calm his nerves when the chief joins him. Curious, she asks whether he's going out with her, and he reveals that he's no longer. Thinking that he's only taking things slow, she claims that it's good that he's not going out with her because it's most exciting when two people are about to be in a relationship. Furthermore, she asks him to start writing more about, assuring him that the audience is begging him to go into detail about the physical experience. Not wanting to listen to any more of her ideas, he lets her know that he will stop the column. He believes that the sooner he tells her, the more she will understand. Realizing that he's fallen in love with the girl, the chief asks him to write creatively further on and for the last part to be a dirty novel. However, he lets her know that he's thinking about quitting. Knowing the potential he has, she asks him not to because it won't be something she'll tolerate. The 10-part column will finally give Wori a chance to write his book, so that's why he's still not sure about the whole thing. Putting his cigarette out, he catches a taxi and heads to Ya-young's place. As she lays down in bed, she can't help but think about him expressing his love for her when her phone rings. She answers nervously, knowing that it's him, and he asks her to get down. He claims that he has something to tell her and asks whether there's a cafe nearby so they can talk when Ya-young's phone lights up and she sees the pictures of her ex's wedding. Being reminded of the deal, Ya-young asks Wori whether he's still willing to help her. So next, we see them walking to the wedding. However, once they get inside, Ya-young starts feeling bad about being there. She tries to leave as she thinks that it's a terrible idea, but Wori stops her by reminding her of the things her ex had done to her. Looking at him confused, she reminds him that he doesn't know anything, so he suggests they at least watch the ceremony. As Ya-young watches the love of her life marry someone else, Wori decides to take revenge for her. He sneaks into the hall and proceeds to steal the book of guest gifts. As they're walking to the exit, they are called out by the security to stop, but they start running away from them. After running for a while, they stop to take a breath and Wori reveals his plan. He claims that not knowing how much each guest has paid for the wedding gifts will kill her ex's whole life, making it the best revenge possible. Feeling victorious, they go for a beer. Ya-young thanks him for helping her forget her ex. She admits that seeing him marry didn't hurt so much and that she's fine with not being the protagonist of his life. Right as Worry is about to reveal the column, Ya-young suggests they go on the Ferris wheel the following day. After all, he doesn't tell her the truth because we see them riding bumping cars at the fair the following day. They ride the roller coaster and once they get off, Worry forgets his phone after the ride. However, Ya-young gets it for him, and that is when she sees something that she's not supposed to. Completely oblivious, he waits in line to get the picture that was taken on the ride, so she takes the chance to go to the bathroom. Ya-young finally finds out about the column as she reads the nasty comments that are about her. She finally knows who the writer of the trending column is, but at what cost? Worry realizes that his phone is not on him, so he returns to the roller coaster to ask for it. The lady hands it to him and lets him know that a girl had left it for him. After seeing his notifications, he realizes that she must have found out, so he goes looking for her. Luckily, he catches her at the exit, but she doesn't want to hear him. All sorts of questions run through her mind. She asks him why her, why did he pretend, what was the purpose of it all? She asks him if he feels guilty, calling him a sociopath and threatening to sue him and his company. He lets her know that she's right and has the every right to do so. All he asks from her is to hear him out, but she keeps the accusations coming. He promises to take the column down, but she claims that it won't be necessary as she plays the recording of him admitting to writing it, threatening to post it. On her way home, emotions finally catch up to her as she starts bawling her eyes out while reading the column.
There's a song in my heart, there's a fire in my head, smoking out the truth. There's a ghost in the room, a river running through, dividing up the night. Oh, mysterious way, we give and we take, holding it back, all we wanna say, holding out a light, reflecting your eyes. I remember you this way. Starry night, come alive, everything, make it right.
Soon after, Worry gets exposed to the media. As Ya-young sits with her friends, they tell her all about the things that have come out about him. Her friends, being protective of her, try to grasp every option possible to take him down, despite her name not even being mentioned anywhere. Feeling tired of it all, Ya-young asks them not to make a big fuss out of it as it's not important to her. She doesn't want him to be locked up, but she wonders if he was really sincere when he helped her get over her ex or if it was all a show. Waking up with a hangover the next morning, she tries not to get out of bed, but her grandmother makes sure she does. Ya-young asks her grandma when she'll become the protagonist of her story because she'll be 30 in the following year. Her grandma says something that changes Ya-young's outlook on life. She claims that the beauty of life is that you can be any character you want, as you control your actions. Worry pulls the column and quits his job. As he's taking his things out, some of his colleagues take his side, claiming that it's the chief's fault. However, some of them share the same views as most of the public. Despite going through a lot of bad things, Ya-young finally starts her podcast, her first guests being her grandma and her friends, of course. However, the topic is no longer about the protagonists, but rather about the best friends in life. Worry seems to have taken a different path in life as we see him working in a gas station. It may be below his qualities and his degree, but it's the safest job for him considering the exposure he has gotten. After shooting the podcast, Ya-young and her grandma go back home. As her grandma cleans her ear, Ya-young asks what's the secret of love. Her grandma claims that it's not important where the couple meets. If they're meant to be together, they'll end up together. Feeling more inspired than ever, Worry decides to start writing his novel. He thinks about the wise words from his favorite author, about how you can't write if you haven't truly loved. More time passes and one day as Ya-young's cleaning her room, she comes across the guest gift book that Worry had stolen for her. A huge smile appears on her face as she reads his name and the amount he has given. The following day is New Year's Eve. Ya-young walks the street talking to her best friend on the phone. She invites her to come over for some delicious food and Ya-young agrees. However, when she walks into the restaurant where she spent New Year's with Worry, she sees him there, so naturally, she tries to run away. He catches up to her quickly and at first, she pretends not to know him. Worry has done the same tradition they did that one New Year's together. He had given blood as well. He lets her know that he is ready to be in a relationship as he promises to make up for all the wrong he did to her. She doesn't see a reason for her to be with him, but he changes her mind. Despite his begging, she asks herself why did she come to their restaurant in the first place. A smile appears on her face as she walks away from Worry, so he follows her as they make their way to the next challenge, facing their love.